Alright guys, welcome to a new video. So we're going to be go ahead and doing a new deck profile again today. Before we get into that, if you're new to the channel or if you haven't yet, go ahead and hit that like, comment, subscribe, and turn those notifications on. Excuse me guys. So if you're new to the channel, just kind of a brief summary. I basically do deck profiles. If you'd like anything or you want to see anything new, go ahead and leave that in the comments below, or go ahead and just hit that subscribe and go ahead and direct message me. That is the easiest way to get anything answered or to get video content you want. Now, if you guys kind of notice, I'm going to have a little bit of a different setup. The audio might be a little different today. I am testing out new microphones as well as just seeing if anything can come out differently. Probably on the next video, which I'll start uploading only videos probably once a week, so I have more time to go ahead and edit them, make them as good as I can for you guys. I've had a few comments, and I have a few people that I continuously talk to that tell me whether the videos are good or not, or if they can see better content, or if they see something I miss, especially the if I'm misplaying something. I have L2 judges that review my content just to make sure. So ultimately, they tell me when something's going to change or anything, so I'll probably upload once a week. Starting this week, so this new video will be done on probably the next Sunday after I've done recording it. So we'll go ahead and do that from now on. It's once a week. If you guys want to see more videos than once a week, go ahead and leave that in the comments below as well. Also, because we're getting closer to July 17th, just know that once July 17th hits, I will be unboxing 4 set 10 boxes. So that will be the video that week, will be set 10 being unboxed, and you guys will see the pull rates and just kind of see where my ideology is going to go from there and what I want to build. That includes Vegex, a blue Vegito deck, and a few other little things here and there that I'm just thinking about doing. But from there, let's go ahead and get into this new deck profile. So the deck profile today is going to be Beerus. It is going to be a red-yellow Beerus. Now, if any of you have seen the Beerus decks prior to this, or if you've seen red-yellow, I guarantee you're going to see a lot of things that look similar, such as Super Saiyan 4 Goku Heartfelt Plea and Pan the Great Ape Whisperer. Now, I like to think I did something a little differently with this. Granted, that is the kind of big win condition is obviously Heartfelt Plea, untapping it with Pan the Great Ape Whisperer, and then swinging again. But I like to think maybe there's a little bit of difference in this deck, and we'll see where we go from there. Let's go ahead and get into the deck profile, starting with Beerus himself. So Beerus has an activate main. You choose one card, one red or yellow card from your hand, and you place in your drop area. Draw 2 cards. Really good for just hand increasing, making sure you have ultimately the best hand you can have. Also making sure you pull everything you need for your win conditions, and you can pull them very quickly. Ultimately, this deck can pop off easily turns 3 or 4. With no issues whatsoever, and it has the defense to handle that. His Awaken is 4 or less life. You may choose 2 of your energy, switch them to active mode, and then flip this guy over. Flipping this guy over, he has 2 activate mains. Or excuse me, he has an activate main and an activate battle. So his first activate main is a once per turn you tap a red and a yellow. Choose one of your opponent's battle cards and KO it. So unless they have barrier, this has no stipulation whatsoever. So if they have their big SCR that doesn't have barrier, say goodbye. This is probably the biggest threat on the board, is literally, I tap 2 energy, I can kill your biggest guy. So think of those victory strikes that don't have barrier. If they don't have barrier, think of those SCRs that ultimately don't have barrier. Even in this deck, the baby Geneva for red-yellow does not have barrier. So ultimately, this card's activate main is very evil. I mean, so you're saying that I can activate main and I can KO your SCR with no issues, or I can TKO something with no problems. That's ultimately your win condition as long as it doesn't have barrier. Very broken card, very evil activate main, even though it is only once per turn. Now his activate battle, which is once per turn, is you choose a red-yellow multicolored energy in your drop area and you combo with it. I'll tell you right now, this has saved my butt on more than one occasions because you can super combo. Because your super combo is a red-yellow, you will be able to super combo with it. Or say if your Beerus is in there because you have your red-yellow Beerus or your Heartfelt Plea, you can combo with those with no issues. Now, I am not 100% sure, but I'm fairly certain, I'm about 90% certain, you're not paying the combo cost when you combo up these because it's going off an ability. So because of that, you can put your so say it's a 1-drop 10k combo, you can combo for that 10k for free because you are using an ability that's letting you play it for free or combo with it for free. So that is ultimately going to be Beerus. So let's go ahead and get into the deck profile. Now, if any of you have seen my deck profiles prior, you'll know I like to start with my counters. I like to start with my defense. So we're going to go ahead and go with that first. We're going to start with 3 Vados Awakening for counterattacks. Vados Awakening, nice 1 red drop, negate the attack. Then you may choose up to 1 of your battle cards and switch it to active mode. So ultimately, say you have a defender or a blocker in your deck, you can use Vados. So say you've blocked, you can use Vados Assistant and untap it. So say you're in Dren deck and you have a Zorray. So that's yellow, right? We're going to go with Zorray because it's kind of one of the most broken. I'd say that's one of the more broken blockers in the game. Because if you have another Humorous 11 on the board, what happens is Zorray, if you block with it, it cannot be KO'd 1 time. And what happens is if you negate the next attack, you can untap Zorray again and block with it. Now, don't get me wrong, it will kill it the second time. But ultimately, you've stopped 3 attacks with 2 cards. So this becomes a very interesting card. It becomes very useful. And as well as it just untaps your blockers. Moving on, we're going to go ahead and go into 4 Unending Awakenings. I like Unending Awakening mainly for the fact that you can choose your Saiyan leader card and you'll get plus 5k. Now granted, Beerus is not a Saiyan, he is a god. But ultimately in your red-yellow decks I've seen a lot of Saiyan cards, so they're usually useful. I like it just because of the simple fact that I'm not needing a Saiyan for my leader card, so I can negate the attack straight off the bat. And again, it's a 1-drop red negate attack. So nice, useful negates. Next is a counter play. It's going to be Beerus Spall. Very useful card. I'm sorry if this is too shiny. That is the special rare. I put it in here just for the simple fact that this is the only red-yellow deck I'm running with Heartfelt Plea. And when Heartfelt Plea was a thing, I went ahead and used it. And so I put this Beerus Spall in there. Beerus Spall, if you haven't actually gotten to it, is a counterplay. That is, if your leader card is red and your life is 4 or less, if the battle card being played has 15,000 power or less, it is placed in the owner's drop area instead of being played. And if it's your opponent's turn, choose one of your leader cards and it gains a plus 5k power. So ultimately, if they're playing something that's 15k or less, you have 4 or less life, you put it back, you put it in their drop area, then you give your leader plus 5,000 power for the duration of the turn. Then as permanent is you can basically go ahead and take a life and you can activate his counter for free. So just like some of those counterattacks that people like to use that have, Sparkling 5, take a life and go ahead and use it. This is kind of the same concept, but it's ultimately going ahead and KOing one of their battle cards. I know when I played a buddy of mine who ran red-yellow as well, he liked to play a Goku that if he had 4 or less life, that Goku went from a 3-drop to a 5-drop. And it went into his triple flash, which then ultimately led to his SCR Super Saiyan 4 Goku. So with Beerus Spall, if I had 4 or less life, I could easily KO that card and give my leader plus 5k for that turn and stop his entire run. So this became a very useful card. Going to the final counter in this deck, which is another counterplay, it is Choppa. Honestly, for the counterplays that came out in set 7, Choppa and Vegeta the Cruel were honestly my favorites, just because I thought they were a lot more useful. Don't get me wrong, Beerus Spall and all those other ones, Absolute Release Ball, those counterplays are useful. I just thought Choppa the Trickster and Vegeta the Cruel were a lot more useful, so Choppa was put into play. Which really they were put into play because both of their permanents are, if you have a multicolored energy, say red, yellow, or blue, green, you can reduce the energy cost of them by 1, so this becomes a 2-drop counter play. And then with this one, sorry I'm not being able to read upside down today. When you play this card, you choose one of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring Barrier, and you switch to rest mode, and you draw a card if it's your opponent's turn. So ultimately, I'm drawing a card, I'm tapping down something. So say you have your win condition out, I'm tapping it down, so I'm not going to sit here and take that. And on top of that, then I'm playing Choppa the Trickster, so I have a combo piece in on the board, and I counterplayed you, and I drew. So those are the counters for this deck. We're going to go ahead and move on into the support for this deck. The first support, you guys probably have questioned a little bit, but I found it very useful, which is I ran 2 Whis Godly Fundamentals. The reason I use this is because it has the Activate main, which is if your leader card is a Beerus card. So, leader card Beerus. And you send a card from your hand to your drop area, or from your drop area to your warp. You choose up to 1 card in your life and add it to your hand. Then choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards, and it gets minus 5k for the duration of the turn. So this is ultimately activating main, not a once per turn. I can send cards from my drop area to my warp, reduce my life, and awaken faster. It's an awaken card, very easy, very useful. If I found that I didn't need to awaken early, or if I was playing a long game, so best of 3, and I found that ultimately I didn't need to awaken, turn 2 or turn 3, I could use this just as energy and not worry about it. But ultimately, that's what this is for, is to awaken quickly so that I can ultimately get out Heartfelt Plea, Pan the Great Ape Whisperer, and so on. And get them out quickly and be able to hit harder. My next supports are going to be Beerus's. So Beerus Destructive Villain and Beerus Biding His Time. So I run 3 Beerus Biding His Time and 2 Beerus Destructive Villain. Beerus Destructive Villain has Villainous. So if you play another Villainous card, ultimately you're going to you choose a card in your opponent's hand and you make them discard it. So that's what happened. That's what Villainous is. So if you've seen the IVRs or the IHRs, so the heroic cards or the Villainous cards, that's ultimately what they do. Is Villainous is if another Villainous card is played, you take an opponent's card from their hand and put it in the drop area. If another heroic card is played, the heroic makes you draw. So Villainous doesn't really take place in this deck because Beerus just isn't played often, or I don't have enough Villainous in this deck to make it really useful. But his auto is when you play this card, you choose a Beerus card in your drop area with energy cost of 3 or more, add it to your hand. And if you have 5 or less cards, you go ahead and draw a card. So ultimately, this guy is to get Beerus Biding His Time back into your hand so you can replay it. And that's ultimately what you're trying to do with this guy. If you play another one of him, great. If you don't, that's fine too. Ultimately, you're just trying to get that 3-drop Beerus back into your hand if you really need it, if you're seeing that this Beerus Biding His Time is useful. Which really, Beerus Biding His Time is useful because first off, he's critical. Secondly is his permanent, which is, yes, you can only have 1 in play, but if you have a red-yellow multicolored energy, you reduce the energy cost of this guy by 2. So ultimately, this is a 1-drop when you play it. This will pull him back out, so if they KO this, because you get this out, turn 2, you're getting out Beerus Biding His Time. Because you probably put down Whis the Spectator for energy on turn 1, and turn 2 you might have done it again, but that comes in untapped. So ultimately what you're doing is you're playing this turn 2, you're swinging for 15,000 in critical on turn 2. If you need to, and they KO this because they realize that is a threat, you can use this to bring it back if you need to. You don't have to for obvious reasons, but ultimately. So turn 2 you get this, you play it, you hit them, crit, cool. They KO at their next following turn. So your turn 3, you play an energy. You play this down because you didn't pull this one out. You didn't pull another one of these. You play this, you get this back, and then you replay this. So now you have a 15,000 swinger, and you have another 15,000 critical, all for 3 energy. Because this is only a 2-drop, this is a 1-drop because you have multicolored energy in your drop area. So ultimately, these guys will feed off each other, but they make for great, quick hit offense, and they're very useful. The next support card is going to be the energy. All of you should know this one really well for any red-yellow. It's going to be Whis the Spectator. Whis the Spectator being the reason it's energy is because ultimately its energy exhaust is negated as long as you have another red-yellow in your drop or into your energy area. So as long as you have another red-yellow in energy, which is turn 1 play, usually this is what this is being charged. You play the next one, it'll come in just like any normal energy because energy exhaust is not taking effect because of its permanent. I've never seen anybody use Whis Spectator other than energy. So that's what mine's for. The final real support card is going to be the super combos. Run Whis 4 Whis Celestial Moderators. Obviously, these are really good cards. Being the set 9 super combos that came out that didn't require your life to be at a certain number or certain card. It didn't have to have a lot of things being met. And on top of that, with their autos being just relatively useful on most of these multicolor combo pieces, they were helpful. So for Whis, the auto that happens is if you have a red-yellow leader card, when you combo this card from your hand, you choose one of your opponent's battle cards, and it gets minus 10k for the duration of the turn. So say it's their turn, they're swinging. You can go ahead and neg one of their big guys minus 10k, and give your leader plus 10k. So it becomes very helpful. It's a really good super combo, and the fact that it is somewhat of a board control is also helpful as well. All right. Next is kind of where we get into some of the big boys, which is for Beerus No Holds Bar. The reason one of the big reasons why this is such a good hitter is because of the arrival, which only costs 2. So super combo with Yzma, the moderator. Play this for 2. Auto is when you play this card, you choose one because he has 2 effects. The first effect is you choose one of your opponent's battle cards with 30,000 power or less and KO it. Or the second one, which is choose one of your opponent's leader cards or battle cards in rest mode, ignoring barrier, and then the card can't switch to active mode until the start of your next main phase. So ultimately board control. So this is either going to KO something or it's going to make it so something doesn't untap until your next turn. So if you play this, your opponent gets to play again. Say you tap down their leader card, or their leader card's tapped down. Their leader card is no longer untapping their next turn. The soonest it can untap is your next turn. So that becomes a very much board control card, as well as the simple fact that it's just very useful. And the fact that you can get out so quickly and so early, it's just, to me, it's broken. If I can control the board on turn 2, that just hurts a lot of people. And the fact that I can sit here and swing for 25,000, combo it up, get another one out with no issues, is just, it just blows my mind with how much this card really can do damage to an opponent. The next card you see is going to be kind of a little bit of support. It's going to be support for the Heartfelt Plea, which is Combination Attack Pan. The reason Combination Attack Pan's out is mainly because, first off, if you have a Son Goku GT or a Trunks GT with 25k power or more, this comes out for free. So Heartfelt Plea plays, this comes out for free. And then you can activate its main once per turn. You choose one of your Son Goku GT cards or Trunks GT cards and give it plus 5k. So ultimately, plus 5k for the duration of the turn. So ultimately what you can do is say you play Heartfelt Plea, you play Pan the Great Ape Whisperer, you play this for free. So you just play 3 cards for free on one Awaken. And because of that, you can use her activate main on Heartfelt Plea, and he'll be a 30,000 swinger twice because of Pan Great Ape Whisperer. And I just find that amazing. Now, also the reason this is also useful is because of another support card, which is the Super Saiyan 4 Son Goku Saiyan lineage. Now, the reason I say that is because you can play this early, and because of him, and you can ultimately start beefing cards very quickly. Now, don't get me wrong, people are probably going to target this if they can. But the only reason I say that is because this guy, when he'll have 25,000 power when you awaken. So you can play this before Heartfelt Plea. Don't get me wrong, most people don't. Or at least most times I'll see it. It's not going to be played early. It's going to be played with Heartfelt Plea, because Heartfelt Plea will hit the board first. Pan the Great Ape Whisperer hit. Both their effects will resolve. Once that's resolved, then you go ahead and continue your main phase and you play Combination Attack Pan. But ultimately, say you have multiple of these guys out, you can play, you'll use one for sacrifice for Heartfelt Plea, the other one will be 25k, and then you get Combination Attack Pan. This also helps if you don't have Heartfelt Plea in hand. So if you don't have Heartfelt Plea in hand, and this guy just gets big, because you weren't able to play Heartfelt Plea, which I've had happen to me more than once, he gets to 25k, I go ahead and play Combination Attack Pan, and then I make him 30k. So that's Combination Attack Pan. Going to Saiyan Lineage, he does have Barrier, and if your leader card is on its front, you reduce the energy cost of this guy by 1. So ultimately, this is a turn 2 play with no issues. You just have a red-yellow, and then you play this guy. And he has an auto, which is when you awaken, this guy gets plus 10k power, and you draw a card. So ultimately, this becomes the sacrifice for Heartfelt Pleas. If you don't sacrifice it to Heartfelt Plea, that's fine. It's still a 25,000 swinger. Or 30,000 if you get combination attack pan now. Because once this guy gets 25k, combination attack pan is now free to play. Alright, so now the last 3 cards I'm going to show are going to basically be the meat and potatoes. They're going to be the swingers. They're going to be the guys that ultimately get you the win condition. 4 Pan Great Ape Whisperers. If any of you have seen any form of red-yellow, you know what this does. It's going to untap one of your... excuse me. It has the activate main, which is you choose one of your yellow battle cards and you switch it to active mode. So ultimately, it's going to make it so Heartfelt Plea swings twice. And the time that you can play this for free is when you have 2 or less life and you awaken. Now, this was seen mostly in the baby deck because baby was awakening at turn 2 or less life. Now, Beerus doesn't awaken at 2 or less life, as we read earlier. It awakens at 4 or less life, but that is perfectly fine. You don't have to awaken on 4 or less life. You can awaken on 2. If you awaken on 2, then you play Pan the Great Ape Whisperer for free, and there you go. You get to untap your Heartfelt Pleas. And speaking of Heartfelt Plea, there's Heartfelt Plea. Run 4 of, obviously both 4 of Pan Great Ape Whisperer because you want to see them. 4 Heartfelt Pleas. It is a triple strike and it does have offering. I've noticed that when sometimes people play Heartfelt Plea, they forget the offering, which is either you get to draw 2 cards or your opponent takes a life and puts in their drop area. And then, obviously, his auto is when you awaken, you choose a card with 25,000 power or more, sacrifice it, KO it, and then you get to play this guy for free, and you can only do that 1 time. So run 4 Heartfelt Pleas, ultimately, so base stats, 30,000 triple strike. Pan Heartfelt Plea gives it, 30,000 triple strike again. So I get to swing at you twice for 30,000 triple strike. But if you play combination attack pans and say you have 3 in hand, you activate mains 3 times, that's 15,000. He's now sent at 45,000 triple strike twice. So this becomes a very evil card. Ultimately, you're going to be able to probably take a good chunk of life. And then finally, the SCR, Baby Geneva. I like Baby Geneva for the SCR mainly just because of it only costs 5. So if for some odd reason I'm just not getting my win conditions with Heartfelt Plea or anything else in this deck, ultimately by turn 5, I will say fine. Activate main, tap 2 red, 3 yellow. And you're basically going to pay this offering, which is either this guy is played, or my opponent chooses 3 cards from their life and puts in their drop area. Now, if this is played, your opponent's leader card is minus 30,000 power. It does not matter what their power is. For that turn, their leader is minus 30,000 power. Now, I'm not 100% on this one if that drops the leader below 0 or if it just zeroes out. What me and my buddy have used is that it gets a negative 15,000 power, and you got to combo up to 0 and then get up from there. Go ahead and leave in the comments, though, if you know this to be wrong or different. Please let me know. Please let everybody else know. I will be contacting my L2 judge just to double check it. I'll probably leave that in the comments below if I'm wrong. But as far as I know, it gets the leader card to negative numbers. So ultimately, their leader has to combo that much more just to get up to the 40,000 that this guy has. And that is it for this deck. That is Beerus. That is Beerus Red Yellow. And ultimately, it's like most of your red yellows, it's just an aggro deck. It has good defense and it gets off very quickly. Really, that's going to be what it does. And as you saw, it can be quick. So if you have any questions, comments, or anything you want to see differently about this deck, please leave that in the comments below. And just keep on watching these. Get ready for the one next week. And this one will be loaded up on Sunday. And you guys go ahead and be safe out there and enjoy your time. Have fun.